In the grand tapestry of history, there are many names that echo through the ages, remembered for their power, influence, and the legacies they left behind. Yet, some figures, despite their profound impact, remain hidden in the shadows, their stories forgotten or distorted by time. This is the story of one such queen, one who was crowned before she could read, one who led a kingdom before she could even write her name. Her name was Queen Nzinga of Angola, a ruler whose brilliance was overshadowed by the neglect of history itself. Born in 1583, Nzinga grew up in a world of constant political and military turmoil. Angola, in southern Africa, was under the control of the Portuguese, who had been exploiting the region for its resources and enslaving its people. Despite being a child of nobility, Nzinga was not afforded the privileges that many royal children received. Instead, her childhood was shaped by the harsh realities of her time by war, by the suffering of her people, and by the political challenges that would eventually demand her courage and leadership. Nzinga's rise to power was not a simple one. She was not born into the type of royal inheritance that other queens might have enjoyed. Instead, she was thrust into leadership by necessity when her brother, King Angola, died and left the kingdom in turmoil. At the time, the Portuguese were at the height of their colonial ambition, and their influence in Angola was growing stronger by the day. Despite being a woman, Nzinga was not afraid to assume control. In fact, she saw her position not as a mere title, but as a powerful opportunity to defend her people against the Portuguese invaders. Yet, despite her fierce leadership, Nzinga's legacy was never properly documented, nor was her rule fully appreciated. In a time when literacy was a sign of power and intelligence, Nzinga's illiteracy was used as a tool to undermine her reign. History, written by those in power, neglected her achievements, relegating her to the status of a footnote in the pages of African history. She was a queen who led armies, negotiated with foreign powers, and fought tirelessly for her people's freedom, but to much of the world, she was nothing more than a name lost to the shadows of time. Nzinga's leadership was defined by military brilliance and diplomatic ingenuity. She was a strategic mastermind, using her knowledge of the terrain and her understanding of both European and African tactics to defeat the Portuguese in several key battles. But what truly set her apart was her ability to balance diplomacy with military strength. She knew when to fight and when to negotiate, and she skillfully played on the divisions within the Portuguese colonial structure to gain vital allies. She was a queen who understood the importance of both power and diplomacy, two skills that many male rulers of her time could not comprehend. Despite her victories, Nzinga's story was lost in the annals of history. The Portuguese, in their effort to suppress her rule, painted her as a mere savage and uneducated and uncivilized ruler unworthy of recognition. The fact that she could not read or write was used as evidence of her supposed inferiority, and this fact was conveniently left out of the conversation when discussing her achievements. Nzinga, however, never allowed this to define her. Her ability to lead her people, her military successes, and her diplomatic genius spoke louder than any written word could. As history progressed, Nzinga's name faded into obscurity. The records of her life and reign were either erased or ignored, and the powerful queen was forgotten by many, despite the remarkable things she accomplished. Her story was buried under the weight of colonial narratives that celebrated European conquest and demonized African resistance. In a world where the voices of women, especially women of African descent, were often silenced, Nzinga's triumphs were left untold. She was a queen before she could read, and yet history left her behind. But her story is not one of complete neglect. In recent years, there has been a renewed interest in Nzinga's life and legacy. Scholars, historians, and activists have worked to uncover the truth about this extraordinary queen and to give her the place in history that she so rightfully deserves. The tale of Nzinga is a testament to the resilience and strength of a leader who fought against colonial powers, defied the limitations imposed on her because of her gender and race, and fought for the freedom of her people. While the world may have forgotten her for a time, Nzinga's legacy is slowly being revived, a queen who led before she could read, and yet shaped a kingdom that would forever remember her name. As the years passed and the Portuguese continued their efforts to dominate Angola, Queen Nzinga's strategic brilliance never wavered. Despite facing overwhelming odds and numerous setbacks, she maintained her defiance, fighting for the freedom of her people and never surrendering to colonial oppression. Her reign was not one marked by peaceful diplomacy, but by resilience and unwavering resolve in the face of relentless foreign threats. Nzinga's military campaigns became legendary. She transformed her kingdom into a fortress of resistance, employing guerrilla warfare and ambush tactics to outsmart and defeat the better-equipped Portuguese forces. At the Battle of Cambi in 1624, Nzinga's forces delivered a crushing blow to the Portuguese, forcing them into a temporary retreat. It was here that Nzinga, known for her skillful leadership, displayed her unmatched ability to rally her troops and outmaneuver a far superior force. Her courage in battle was not just a testament to her strength, but to her deep-rooted belief that her kingdom would not fall into the hands of foreign invaders. Perhaps the most enduring aspect of Nzinga's defiance was her diplomatic acumen. Realizing that military power alone would not drive the Portuguese out, she used diplomacy as her secret weapon. Nzinga forged alliances with other African kingdoms and even the Dutch, who were at odds with the Portuguese. Her keen understanding of European politics allowed her to manipulate the tensions between colonizing powers to her advantage. Through these alliances, she gained vital support and resources, prolonging the fight against Portuguese colonialism. However, as her reign progressed, Nzinga's efforts to resist Portuguese imperialism became increasingly difficult. The political landscape of Angola was shifting, and the Portuguese began to strengthen their foothold in the region. Nzinga, now in her later years, faced internal challenges as well rival factions within her court, increasing pressure from Portuguese forces, and the persistent struggle to keep her kingdom united. Yet, through it all, her spirit remained unbroken, and her commitment to the cause of independence remained resolute. Nzinga's final years were marked by diplomatic negotiations and attempts to secure a lasting peace for her people. In 1657, she negotiated a peace treaty with the Portuguese, ceding certain territories in exchange for recognition of her sovereignty. Though she had to make compromises, the treaty solidified her position as a leader who could not be easily subjugated. Despite the difficult circumstances, Nzinga remained a figure of strength until her death in 1663, leaving behind a legacy of fierce resistance, both militarily and diplomatically. While her name was buried by colonial narratives for centuries, Nzinga's legacy has slowly begun to resurface in recent years. In the wake of African independence movements in the 20th century, historians and activists have worked tirelessly to reclaim the stories of forgotten African leaders like Nzinga. Her contributions to the resistance against Portuguese colonialism are now being recognized globally, and her status as a queen of unmatched military and diplomatic prowess is being restored. Nzinga's story represents more than just the life of a remarkable queen. It is a symbol of resistance, of the strength and power of African women who fought against colonial domination, often without recognition. Her story challenges the notion that African history is one of passivity and submission. It reveals the complexity of African resistance against colonial forces and highlights the role of women in shaping the course of history, a role often left out of the history books. Queen Nzinga's struggle was not just against the Portuguese. It was a fight against the erasure of African history. Her intelligence, strategic brilliance, and Indomitable will stand as a testament to the strength of those who resisted colonialism and the power of indigenous African leadership. History may have tried to leave her behind, but Nzinga's legacy endures. Her name is being reclaimed, her contributions acknowledged, and her story is finally being told in its full and rightful glory. Nzinga's rise to power, despite her illiteracy and her fight to protect her people, are timeless lessons in resilience. She was a queen before she could read, yet she understood what true power meant. Power was not in books, it was in the strength of one's people, the ability to lead through action, and the courage to resist oppression. Queen Nzinga's name may have been lost in the pages of history for far too long, but her legacy, one of defiance, intelligence, and unwavering commitment to her people, will never be forgotten again.